Thank you all for being on. It's a little chilly here. Let me get something. Um, I'm forgetting. In Russia, I have a Sanga uh, sometimes on Thursday, and I missed it 3 times in a row. The last time, they sent me 2 messages of reminders, which I accepted. And then this class, I was just, I don't think it's like a old age and a mental thing. I think it just must be some karmic kind of planet, because my mind is as sharp as ever. I mean, it's just, I'm asked to do this one lecture. I was asked to do this one lecture, and they asked me to speak on something, and I just wanted something that I prepared. I can just go there in a second. They gave me a new topic, and I just sat down, and within 5 minutes, I had a structure. So it's really uncanny, but let's go and let's see what happens here. I didn't have any time to prepare. Okay. I'm just going to have to read verses and just, I'll have to go back a little bit to find out where I'm at. Okay. Reading from the Caitanya-bhāgavata, text 114. I forgot even what section it's on. I'm looking at all the people here who are coming. It's my regulars. Thank you for supporting me. Sanga, the deity worship. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Dhana yaśa bhoga yāra āchaye sakala bhakti yāra tāra, saba, amaṅgala. If one has wealth, fame, and material enjoyment, but is bereft of devotion, then everyone is inauspicious. Everything is inauspicious. Omagana timirandasya gananjana shalakaya chaksuram mulatam yena tasmai sri gurave namaha. Anyway, I think this Damodar Pandit has come to Puri. And as we remember, this Damodar Pandit had a particular type of personality, which was very neutral and like objective. And it was so neutral and objective that he was even judging Lord Chaitanya, even though that was the Lord and his guru. And disciple, I discussed this in my article, The Role of Faith. There's a certain mood which on a certain level doesn't facilitate objectivity, because if one is completely neutral, this is a subtle point and I'm going to explain it. If someone is completely neutral, then it may compromise his acceptance of authority, which is required. It's going to take me a while to get this because I'm a little just ran into this class. It is disciple is sometimes known as Chatra. Chatra is also an umbrella. He protects the faults of the teacher. But and of course, there's inquiry, there's doubts, but the doubts is when you accept the teacher, there's no meaning if your doubts are in the teacher's authority. Your doubt should always be in your understanding of what he says. And if the question is doubts of his authority, that happens before you accept the teacher. Because if we don't have that faith in teacher, then our ability to learn is limited to our own frame of reference. It's not a student-teacher relationship. We become the authority and we agree with the teacher only when he agrees with us. But this Damodar Pandit was such in this mood that he would question Lord Chaitanya. The famous verse that even if Lord Nityananda went into a liquor place, you never think he's a drunk. He's going there to preach. But so Lord Chaitanya, he was affectionate to a young boy. The young boy would come and it's just natural human relations. He was very sweet and he wanted to serve Lord Chaitanya. So, Lord Chaitanya may have patted him in the head and it's just a very natural relation, a natural response. But Damodar Pandit was very, very apprehensive. And the reason why he was apprehensive was that the boy's father recently died and his mother was a young, beautiful widow, and sees his wife must be above suspicion, as the saying goes, and a sannyasi, he must protect his reputation. A king must protect his reputation. Faith was such an important element in society. Faith in authority so that people could learn from people who are authorities. And especially when it comes to the spiritual platform, we have a struggle to remain independent so that we can choose for our own control and enjoyment. We fear authority, not just in terms of position, but in terms of people who have a right to that position, in terms of their knowledge. So in the Bhagavatam, it warns us, and I've written about this, āchaye mam vijanayam navamanyat karcha. We should accept the āchaye, Krishna. We should accept the authority, those who are worthy of authority. Krishna says, is my very self, navamanyat karcha, and don't envy him in any way, because that's our tendency. We are here, icha dvesha samutena dvandva mohena bar. We are here in this world overcome by the dualities of desire and hate. And that's how it is in the world. And therefore we have desires and we hate people who restrict them, even if they're the proper authorities, a righteous government, loving parents, a well-meaning teacher. We don't want to be restricted in our pursuit of ego, enjoyment, and control. And the very definition of a spiritual person, the very symptom of a spiritual person, is that he takes refuge of truth and follows it, no matter what it means to their life. And the example was there of Vasudeva, Krishna's father, when he promised Kamsa that he would give over the children, the whole story to protect his wife. And the commentary in the Bhagavatam, there is nothing too difficult for a man of character in the pursuance of his duty. They will never understand duty above self, that author Tom Wolfe wrote about the me generation, my generation, hippie generation. Duty over self, it's such a beautiful thing. So this Damodar, was somehow that nature of his caused him to question things that Lord Chaitanya did. And then Lord Chaitanya accepted that it was based on his desire. And I think this is also a lesson that we learn, that spiritual people try to, even if they try to see people's motive, even if they don't like what they do. If they're a devotee, they try to see what the good motive is. Because sometimes people have a right motive, but I think Bhakti Tirtha Swami said sometimes people do the wrong thing for the right reason. They may have the right reason. We're protecting, ISKCON. We're protecting Prabhupada's movement. We're loyal to Prabhupada. But in the process, then you may ban someone. You may do something that's wrong. So if the person's subject to that, he may want to see, well, at least their motive was right. So Lord Chaitanya saw, like Damodar Pandit, his motive was right. His motive is right. Damodar Pandit's motive was right. But it was misapplied. So let me apply it in the right way. I'll send them to care for my mother with that type of strictness and strictness and object neutrality. It'll be very good for my mother is widowed. It'd be very good for him to be my representative to protect her. So he came back and Lord Chaitanya asked, how is her devotion coming? And Damodar Pandit said, what are you talking about? That's your mother. And Lord Chaitanya just did it. It's just as a sign of affection. And to bring that type of exchange of how are you to a higher level. I remember one time there was a disciple of Prabhupada's godbrother. He was in Vrindavan. He was an obscure person. He was a sannyas, but no one really knew him. And I asked him, how are you? And he said, how should I be? I'm 95, I'm dying. So how should we be? How are you? Actually, Vedic culture is so interesting. Raghunath had a Seva retreat here, and it was pretty impressive to see the level in which people worked and were appreciative of just having Seva for a mission or cause they like. And probably is very essential for this property to be profitable and continue, that they can't just, that they need people to volunteer work. And when some people were going, I said, I'm not going to say goodbye. I'll say see you soon, because in the Sanskrit language, there is no word for goodbye. It's too painful in a proper culture to say goodbye. You have to, the only word to say is I'll see you soon. I'll see you soon. So anyway, Lord Chaitanya, I think, is explaining now that this is what you ask about when you say, how are you? How is your devotion? Because other things, even if you have them, but you don't have devotion, then everything is inauspicious. This is actually the basic principle of bhakti. The basic principle of bhakti is the faith or trust that the goal of happiness and auspiciousness and welfare is devotion. Bharate bhumate hoila manushya janma yāra janma sartaka kara kara papuga. One who is born in India, he's very fortunate and he should work for the welfare of others. Bharate bhumate hoila manushya janma yāra janma sartaka kara paruga. He should work for others. But what does working for others mean? As Jesus Christ said, what profit of man? He gains the whole world and he loses his soul. This is a basic principle. This is our basic principle. This is what faith is. Faith is that this is what's worthy. Devotion is what's worthy. And we have to have that faith, because our material situations, they will never be proper. They'll never conform to our desires. I'm seeing it again and again. There's always, even in the best of situations, there's always, best of the situations, there's always sand in the sweet rice. There's always sand in the sweet rice. We just have to become detached. Detached means we have to be happy with Krishna's will and understand that no matter what situation you are in this world, it is doomed. That's it. I remember Tamal Krishna Maharaj telling me, people think in the future it'll get better. It only gets worse. I'm also struggling with this. Got to become detached. Got to become, and the psychology is, no, then I'll organize this way and this way will be, and then I'll have this and this will be better, and the situation will move my way. Enough. Enough. Just throw your hands up. Krishna, throw your hands up. Krishna, whatever you want, I'm happy with. Whatever you want, I'm happy with. We have faith that God will, protect us. And what does that mean? What it means is God will always do what is best for us. We just have to come to that situation. And the world will make us come to that situation. Because we're not the controllers. And if we have that desire to enjoy and have everything lined up our way, there'll just be one trauma, one disruption after another. And when you achieve perfection, then you'll have the fear of losing it on a material platform. And you will, as sure as death, Prabhupada said. As sure as death. I know the story of Maharaj Yudhisthira, how he suffered so much that when he came to his grandfather, who was on the a bed of arrows, dying on the battlefield, and his grandfather saw him come forward to see him, he said, Jivatam nava daitum vai, you do not deserve to live, because your life was so horrible. It would be less pain to die than live in your circumstances. And then Bhishma Dev began to cry. And then the Bhagavatam goes, and he's finally installed in the king, and you know, everything. And okay, now there's finally, all right, there's peace, there's no war, his relatives are there, what's left of his relatives are there, and he's taking care of his uncle Dhritarashtra, who was on the other side, and he was dutiful. And then Vidura comes in. Then his other uncle shows up. And his uncle preaches to Dhritarashtra, and then Dhritarashtra leaves home. Disruption again. Puna puna charvata charvatanam. What is that verse? Simastritaye parapalava plavam kisho. Puna. Again, bhutva paliyate. Bhagavad Gita describes this material world. Bhutva, again and again. Paliyate, it's destroyed again and again. Like a child who has a sandcastle on the ocean, and the water comes again and again and again. And what's that supposed to do? It's supposed to make us reasonably detached, because we need to be peaceful while we're in this world. So we do try to get our basic needs met. So this is the goal. This is our objective. This is our auspiciousness. And this is something we can achieve right now. Enjoyment, we can't. Happiness of devotion, we can. Enjoyment, we can't, because we're not God. We're not the controller. The world's moving not our way. So intelligent person puts his faith not in his destiny, but his free will and devotion. Devotion is the platform that can make us happy. A heart filled with devotion. So I think Lord Chaitanya here is explaining that. Bhiksha nimantrani prabhu balena hasya chale tume age laksheshvara hoya. When invited to take a meal, the Lord smiled and said, he was invited to take the sadhana, I'm not forgot his house, then you should become a Lakeshvara. And I take meals in the house of a Laksheshvara. Hearing this, the Brahmin became worried. Because a Laksheshvara means a master of 1 lakh. It means one chants 100,000 names a day, which technically is 58 rounds. And the reason is this. This is Lord Chaitanya on the pursuit of the highest consciousness. And therefore, the purer you are, this is kind of seems almost counterintuitive, but the purer you are, the more apparent are the impurities you have to get rid of. I give the example of a glass of water that's clean, then small speck of dust may be apparent. And if it's not something that comes to him once, or someone who is meticulously clean, one sock on the floor may be a disturbance. But someone who's just cluttered and messy, it's not even noticed. So when a person is focused on consciousness and his mind becomes clear, and his goal is to focus on the holy name, and he starts to advance in Krishna consciousness, then He's very careful only to take prasadam and that which is offered. He's very, very careful. What affects his consciousness? When you're a meditator, what affects your consciousness is important. When you're just running around here and there, it doesn't really matter. Even the pure Brahmins, they wouldn't eat food that was buried in the ground because like eggplant and things, it's the mode of ignorance, potatoes. They wouldn't have anything that's red like carrots and tomatoes because it was more in the mode of passion. Of course, it's so disturbing in this world and things that these minor things don't have any real relevance to us. They don't really affect our consciousness, which is polluted so much. And that's why Harinama, Harinama, the holy name, congregational chanting of the holy name, absorb us, our consciousness in such a we need such a powerful process. We're not meditators. And who you eat with. So in the previous days, this was a fact, one who is a Brahmin and his whole work was to keep a consciousness pure so that he can understand knowledge and disseminate it. That's why in the Bhagavad Gita, when it mentions how a Brahmin works, it doesn't mention the activities he does, but it mentions the qualities that the Brahmin cultivates. Shamo damas tapo saucham shantir arjavam evacha jnanam vigyanam astikam brahma karma svabhavicham. Shamo damas tapo saucham. Shamo, damo, tolerance, peacefulness, tolerance. Shamo damas tapo, austerity, saucham, cleanliness. Shamo damas tapo saucham, shantir, arjava, peacefulness, honesty. Shantir arjavam evacha, jnanam, vigyanam, knowledge, realization, astikam, religious nature. Brahma karma swabhavikam. That's how a Brahmin, that's how a Brahmin works. He works by the cultivation of qualities. So certainly Lord Chaitanya, who because when your chanting of the holy name comes from nama, meditating on the name, nam, rupa, that by chanting the name, the form naturally comes into your mind. Nama, rupa, guna. By chanting the name, not only the name, but the form, the qualities of God come into your mind. Nam, rupa, guna, lila. Then the pastimes come in your mind. It is a sadhana kram. It is a step-by-step process. But without a pure mind, you cannot engage in smaran. It's not possible without a pure mind. And Lord Chaitanya was on practicing raganuga bhakti, which is based on smaran. His mind had to be pure, and therefore he had to be very careful who he ate from. Of course, it affects consciousness. The consciousness of a person comes into the food, and therefore it should be love, devotion offered to Krishna. And it should be sanctified by Krishna. Don't forget, Narada Muni became purified of all sins by just once taking the remnants from the Bhakti Vedantas. So important. So important. The Brahmin offered prayers, O Govinda, what to speak of 100,000 names? None of us even possess 1,000. We're not even chanting 5 or 6 rounds. if you don't accept meals from us, then let our entire household be burnt to ashes. Okay, they weren't so qualified in meditation, but my God, that they have faith that this is so important to serve the Lord. The Lord replied, do you know who is a Lakeshwara? It's someone who daily chants 100,000 names. Gaur-Sundar said, this is the commentary, the Lord is served in the house of only one who daily chants 100,000 names. The Lord accepts items like foodstuff only from such a person. If one who does not chant 100,000 names, the Lord does not award the good fortune of his service by accepting his offering. And then the commentary by Bhakti Siddhanta, all devotees of the Lord must daily chant 100,000 names, otherwise they will be attached to varieties of material enjoyment, will be unable to serve the Lord. This is why everyone under the shelter of Sri Chaitanya chants at least 100 names, otherwise Gaur-Sundar will not accept the foodstuffs that we offered. Anyway, we're offering it to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said chant at least 16 rounds. He gave that concession. And it's hard to imagine chanting 100,000 names, but in a proper culture, it wouldn't be. Because in a proper culture, you wouldn't be working like dogs. You wouldn't have internet to distract you. There's nothing else to do. And you would get a taste for it. And you're chanting with, after chanting and practicing, it would take 5 hours a day. So it wouldn't be like the whole day I'm chanting. Just like my friend Sridhar, the gardener, who I take you to meet my friend Sridhar, the gardener. And I had one Russian brahmachari that I knew well. I introduced him there, and the Russian brahmachari lived out there. And he said, yeah, they work in the gardens. And then when they're finished, they sit down and they chant. There's nothing else to do. Prenalpa yaśa shubha kalabas minyuge janaha manda sumanda matayo manda bhaga upadu. This age of Kali Yuga, we're short-lived. Prenalpa yaśa, we're lazy, we're misguided, we're disturbed, we're unfortunate. It's surcharged, as Prabhupada said, with opposition to spiritual life. Therefore, kaler doshe nidhe rajan eko asti mahagunad kirtanad eva krishnasya muktasam. It's an ocean of faults. There's one good quality. By chanting the holy name, you can become free and attain the highest destination. I call that person a Lakshresha. I take meals only in such a person's house, not in the house of others. Hearing the merciful statement of the Lord, the Brahmins gave up their anxiety and became joyful. O Lord, we will chant 100,000 names. Please therefore take your meals in our house. It is our good fortune that you are teaching us in this way. All the Brahmins then began to chant 100,000 names every day so they could offer food to Lord Chaitanya. In this way, the Lord of Vaikuntha enjoyed in the ocean of devotional service by inducing others to take up the process of devotional service. The mission of his incarnation was to distribute the process of devotional service. For this reason, he did not ask for anything other than engagement in devotional service. Okay. Gaur Chandra does not see the face of one who does not speak about the glories of devotional service. Okay, we can end here, and Jamuna Jaya, you could start by sharing. Yeah.
Thank you for class, Maharaj. I actually have several points I never thought about, that there is no word for goodbye in Sanskrit. That really struck me, but I was really this whole class thinking about how impure this makes me feel when you're making the point of, like, in a dirty room, what's one misplaced sock, and the level of purity to, and also to speaking to the point where you said about how to make the question, how are you, how to make it like a higher elevated thing is such an important point as well. Because, as you always say, prajalpa will ultimately lead to offense. And so I love that the question of like, how's my mom doing? And that question about making it elevated. So I got a lot of points.
Right. And it says you do ask those things, but it's not really just to ask those things. How's your body? How's your mind? It's just to show affection. It's just to express affection. So we do relate in that way. I remember when Satsvarup Maharaj came to Vrindavan, I think in 78, and we greeted him and we put him in a place. He just said, no phones. There was, it's just the world. I mean, at your doorstep, every crap, every nonsense, every prajalpa, every offense, every problem, everything. So actually I'm saying even when I came to Vrindavan like 45, 47 years ago, and we grew up in Vrindavan, there was no internet, the biggest sense gratification was getting a letter, or an Indian newspaper in English. That was the extent of that type of prajalpa. So, and now the young people are growing up with this. So there's no surprise that Krishna's basically looks like he's taking down this material civilization. And I wrote that article. I stand with Prabhupada that, those nuns are, so okay, now everything's okay. Now what people will do? What will people do now? Well, we know what they'll do in America. On left and right, we know what they do. Each political side has its vices that are not nice. On one side, they'll be vegan and abort babies. And on the other side, they'll eat meat and, protect the unborn. I mean, what are people going to do with their lives? And I'm just thinking, I'm fortunate to have grown up without having to do this. And maybe that's why my memory is good. Why I'm just thinking, I didn't really practice or study verse. I'm surprised how many things I'm remembering. That's what I'm trying to explain to you all, that my forgetting of the classes is not dementia. But that's why, I just know that it's got to be taken down, this technological society. It's just destroying the minds of the whole populace, except the Amish. But you see, but then they eat meat, they got everything else. So I guess certain people are going to be wise. It's not me yet, and just take part of that social media and just chuck it out. And at least I'm not on Instagram, not really on Facebook, but still, it's just a button away, and the world is at your doorsteps. And not only the world, but the propaganda and their ability to control your minds. And the only thing we have to fight against it is Prabhupada's books, which give us some kind of level of understanding and realization. That's the only thing we have to actually counter out all that other influences. And fortunately, it's very powerful. But people who don't have that, they are just fall prey to, there's a video that Vikram sent me called The Social Dilemma. And the social dilemma, you should all see it. The social dilemma, it describes how insidious the media is, how this technological, and how these people at Stanford, they have courses and they're trained how they can control your mind, because they want to sell you things, but people use it for more than that. They control you because they want to take away your freedom. They want, so many things. But they're so expert. They got every time you click, they get more information on you and more ability to control your mind. Okay. I don't know how I'm doing. Okay. I didn't even know the class was there. And then Rati called me and I just I said, oh my God, it's Rati's number. Why is Rati calling me? You fool, it's Wednesday and you forgot again. So now I not only need a message, I need someone to call me. It's pathetic. Anybody else? Say hello.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Shri Rupa. Thank you for class.
Haribo, Shri Rupa, we're looking forward to seeing you on Sunday for that wedding. That's nice, right?
Yeah, I'm very excited.
Yeah, okay. Leela Brindavan and Jamuna Bihari are getting married at Bhakti Bandhav. Okay. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Gumaraj, Tota Gopinath here.
Haribo, Tota.
Hare Krishna.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, Narmasaki here. Thank you for the
Namasaki,
class.
can we talk in a half hour?
I'm sorry, Guru Maharaj, I'm out. I have to get home in
Okay,
maybe
well,
about
let me know when we
2
can talk.
hours.
We should catch up, okay?
Okay. I email you.
Okay, email me. Okay, anybody else?
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, Logovinda.
And Prasha, thank you for
Thank you
class.
for class.
Just chant 16 rounds. It's okay, love.
All right.
I know after a class like that, Braja, I don't know how he'd react. If you can chant, you can always chant more. You can always chant more. Okay, anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Ms. Gopikita. Thank you for class.
Okay, Haribo. Did Sudeshri, she sent in her application?
Yes, she did. She got the stamps that she needed, and it's advancing.
Did she get the visa, or it's not decided yet?
Not yet, but the process is advancing.
How long do you think it'll take?
We don't know.
Mañana?
Maybe, yes.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Radhika.
Haribo. Goodbye, Govardhan Hill. Hare Krishna. Nice. Thank you so much. I appreciate you
Thanks
both
for-
coming.
Thank
Okay.
you, Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj.
Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. This is Melissa
Wow,
from
Melissa.
Costa Rica.
Great. And we'll see you soon. I hope you're coming in August, right?
Of course, I'm coming on August.
Okay. And
Okay.
really, thank you, you and Gopi Gita. Thank you for helping with
No,
Okay.
thank you. Actually, I was talking to her because she's going to upload some documents that
yeah.
the embassy asked for the interview. So
Yeah.
maybe 1 week or 2 weeks, they're gonna make the interview and decide about the application.
Okay. She really appreciated how you extended yourself. She's quite nice, isn't she?
She is really nice. She's really
Okay.
nice person to talk to also. So thank you so much.
Make her pay in Krishna-katha.
I will ask her.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Good to see you. Good. Anybody else like to say hello? Okay, I'm looking at the list. I see everyone's there. Okay, Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpa Jubhisaka Pasindabi.